You know what? Whoever actually noticed my English, you know what? At this moment, my Korean is not really in the league to compete with my English in terms of its gamut and the scope. I don't really actually read many things in Korean. I don't have any understanding. I just actually saw the 후라이 관계. What does that mean? You know, I've never even heard about this kind of a newly foraged or newly fangled expression. I was not actually, you know, in touch with any youngsters who might actually actively socializing who might be actively socializing with other folks. I don't really know how they should be called. You know, these are all the things I've never even heard of. You actually have a very gross assumption. Just simply actually, you know, me breathing in this country, that would eventually hoist me up to the level of, you know, the regular folks. That's not necessarily the case. I don't really know many things. I'm not lying. Let me actually show you how quickly I can actually read a German. It's really easy. No, I don't really need to. It's extremely easy. I've never hesitated. I don't really need a picture. Because, you know what, if you really do not have a proper knowledge, how would you actually make that, you know, guessing game properly? Because you could easily actually get caught up in the wrongful side of the labyrinth, right? As if from a different star, you know, and you're actually somehow so exotic and idiosyncratic as if from the different star. But you know, in English, you might actually say that, oh, you must be from different planets, right? Even though literally this actually sounds like, you know, just like, you know, from different star. But, you know, I would rather say that, oh, you must be from the different planet, right? I've actually heard about this quite often from American movies, right? And this is really the common phrase, if my understanding is correct, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, the planets. Let's try to actually see that. What would happen? Jupiter is the greatest and the oldest planet in the solar system. With its, you know, enormously violent gravity, it has certain fate and destiny that has been confirmed by the rest of the planets to rule the entire solar system's planets by drawing them and unleashing them. And it has, you know, influence up until changing the course of the Earth. It's so powerful to create a gravitational zone whose, you know, a massively imponderable gravity casts a net to influence the rest of the planets in our solar system, even to reach out to our planet Earth. That's what has been said. It's the oldest and the most powerful in terms of its own size. It's really the greatest one. And it has enormous mass with the corresponding gravity power. Because, you know what, if you actually have a much, you know, powerful gravity, the gravitational zone itself is very, very expansive. Expansive. It's very easy, right? Because the German is a really great word language. I mean it. You know, this gardener for, you know, self-sufficiency. One actually, you know, if you ever wanted to be a hermit, you actually know what, need to take care of yourself, relying on self-sufficient nutrition, because you have to actually, you know, take care of your own feeding by growing, you know, leaves and the shoots by yourself. So cabbages, you know, think about it. You had a pottage. En français, ça s'appelle potage. You know, even in English, a potage, right? You had a tiny, you know, planting area reserved for, you know, leaves and herbs that might actually be helpful for you to actually, you know, literally rip them off and enrich the nutritious balance of your diet, right? What would happen? Already, actually, you know, more people think about this or consider this possibility to take care of their nutrition by themselves by feeding them alone, relying on a perfectly autonomous dietary sufficiency. As, you know, more and more, you know, grown, you know, parents, or, you know, just like our ancestors, you know, actually might have done, you know. And this is, you know what, self-standing in farmers by harvesting their own products for the sake of, you know what, the environment. This was the environment saving and rescuing work, right? This is really kind of going back to the gatherer and hunters period, right? If you ever see this, das würde wie eines Sammlers und Jägers damals. Normalerweise, sie müssen finden, was sie essen. Denn diese wird eine Hauptaufgabe zur Erfüllung zu bringen. Yeah, just like the old great ancestors. You might actually never met them before, but you know what? The very primary forms of human beings, have done it before by actually, feeding themselves and planting, the tiny, leaves and the herbs or cabbages that might actually sufficiently bring a nutritious sources and nutrients to actually supplement the dietary deficiency, right? So this, self-earning, self-sustaining harvest is for the well-being of the earth. Because right now, Earth suffers enormous CO2 emissions coming from the delivery and transportation. Because if you ever actually consume any products nearby you, then, there will be a significant reduction and cut down and plummet in the CO2 emissions, right? That's really the reason. You actually, feed yourself and your family by yourself. In that way, there is a significant benefits that could enrich the quality of the environment as well as the planet Earth, right? It's a greener choice. I don't really need to. I never hesitated. That's a really ridiculous argument. You know what? Very, it's like a riddle, like mysterious phenomenon. Want to see? Riddle, like. And the series are called Star Gold and Breath, Frost of a Death. Dirk Stefan literally proves into the zone in Turkey and Scotland and Germany and also on the island of many of non-exotic natural phenomena to search after the new sensation, which could actually give us enormous sensation. This theory is called the star gold. And how is a frost and a blow? If you ever actually breathe, what comes out of your mouth is how, das ist Atemwolke. Normalerweise das heißt Atemwolke oder Frost. Yeah, frost. Givier. En français, c'est givier. C'est bien. And a blow of death. A death blow. That's a blow normally means, a certain dark cast of a death. Even if you don't want to feel it, but there is there is a sense of, insecurity lurking around to have an ominous presence of an upcoming death. Like, that's how this told us. Literally, this means, a blow of death or breath of death, but this indicates a portending omen that might actually indicate an upcoming death. Or, a fatal accident, wherever. You must be really stupid. I don't really need to think about it. I'm really fast. Yeah, the two life of a Willy Brandt. It's really easy. Two lives of a Willy Brandt is really easy. Oh, I never hesitated. It's really stupid. I don't really know. The fairy tales from parts. Each person truly needs one's own car or one's own drilling machine. More and more say no to that. Many say, no, that's not really the case. With a smartphone, one can definitely truly give away to one's car and overnight possibilities. Or one can actually, be a driver replacing its own traditional role. Because, a smartphone can truly replace all different roles. Because you know what, there could be an overnight surveillance or overnight possibility by clapping smartphones eyes on watching system, or it can actually drive a car, it can replace a vehicle, or all different roles that could actually be undertaken by the development of the smartphone, which is really the state of the art to replace human intelligence probably in all different sectors. This must be possible. Yeah. This is really the, a fairy tale from part, right? From different, gadgets and parts. But English, it's better to say the parts. But this is technically literally from the part. In German, it's the from the part. But in English, it's better to say the from the parts. From parts. Because there's no particularity. It's just like in particulars, right? I mean, I've never ever thought about it. But because it says a form. If there was a form, there was no way it could be plural. But it sounds much better because, each person has, own distinctive and a particularity and a from part and sharing the story. That's the way really the fairy tale of a part in that way. That's more natural in English. That was a really editorial decision. But in German, technically, if you ever want me to experience, because, there was no thought necessary form. If there was a form, there was no chance it could be a plural. No chance. Over your dead body. There's no chance. Dream on. 아, 요즘에 영어랑 파트라고 하면 그거 있어야 되는 이상하죠. I never thought about it. Let me show you. It's really easy. I'm not lesser than anyone. Yeah, because I want to actually show you. I'm not lesser than Louvres and Dandelion. I don't even actually know how to say this in French. Oh, pissenlit. Pissenlit. Why is it pissenlit? It's just like, somebody actually, peed on the floor of a bed. Yeah. On the bed, if somebody actually, urinated, then it looks like, a dandelion. That's really the reason it's been called the pissenlit. Oh, pissenlit. Pissenlit. Louvre and dandelion. And by the way, this is called the pinwheel. Yeah, windmill or pinwheel. I don't really need to think about it. It's really kind of a millionaire kisses. Why not? I don't need to think about it. It's really, one kisses million. Might say kiss Ian. I know most of the scene. No. I'm extremely curious with something that I've never seen. I've never actually touched this in the history section. I'm extremely fast. I'm not lesser than them. Don't you try to actually defame me. This type of calumny should actually be, brought to justice. My change, better our unity, my turnaround. The liberation from Auschwitz, Notre Dame. I saw it. It's really easy. One day in the death, factory in Auschwitz. This, death factory Auschwitz, was what was actually been named, and it could have been, this much notorious for efficiency. It actually, definitely experienced its deep. Its infamous status for efficiency starting from 1944. Every day, thousands of Jews actually died out. And what, these, what victims truly experienced at the time, and what these criminal perpetrators made them do. Truly actually demonstrate such a sensational and heartbreaking and shocking experiences. Later testified many of witnesses who somehow managed to survive this human misery. Because at the time there could not be a moment higher than 1944 for efficiency inside this deadly factory Auschwitz. Almost every day, thousands of Jews, died out, and more victims truly experienced, such a misery as perpetrators put the screws on them. Yeah, because they were forced to work more than, 20 hours per day. They were barely allowed to sleep. There were no food. I know. These are actually coming out right now by the survivors who actually deliver such a shocking and chilling history as a testifying witnesses through their testimonies, right? I don't need to think about it. It's really ridiculous. I've never actually thought about anything. Don't you fucking try to actually say that I wasn't thinking about it. No. No, I'm not lesser than anyone. You can actually bring anyone. Notre Dame, it's really easy. It is really for its early Gothic cathedral style throughout the world. It is probably the most well-known early Gothic cathedral in the entire world. This demonstrates, this flaunts off. It's really, completed artisanal completion by the medieval construction master. Because of its sophisticated construction completion, it's been still preserved as the world's best of medieval constructions wonder by a master in architecture, right? Truly, what were actually, behind these, 50 million ton style stone that were behind this wonder? What were the hidden factors and the miracles that were actually standing up as the 50 million tons of stone as the founding grounds and the foundations of the Notre Dame, Our Lady? This is really the most perfect version of the early Gothic cathedral. Early Gothic is really the very preliminary Gothic era, pre-Gothic era. Yeah, this is really the beginning phase of the Gothic. I've already actually registered for, art history in Barnard, so I really remember it. This is really called, I really actually can refer to this very accurately. This is called a pediment. If you ever actually see this, a triangular one. Yeah, pediment. And this is a tympanum. And this, whole enshielding, surrounding, encapsulating area is normally called the entablature, and the tympanum, and the pediment. Yeah, this is, a rose window. Tracery, rose window. I know better in English. I've never actually learned this in Korean. That's really easy. I'm not lesser than her. Whoever you mention, I can guarantee. Because I've been actually went to college in America, so I know actually these stuff. Not necessarily, every English speaker would cover this type of variety of stuff. Not necessarily me being unique, but I don't really need to be, browbeated by these, people. Not necessarily. Laschet used, school children and students as a diagram is a reference to actually represent the German school conference, and he criticized Nordrhein-Westfalen's governor, Laschet. Whoever opens up in a school much earlier, or whoever would actually open up the schools earlier, then they, normally they were likely to perceive as children as a test object or tokens, according to the Schramm. Think about it. What does it mean? You know what? Armin Laschet is really the person who actually considers, those kids in his estate as a possible tokens or test, what? Guinea pigs. Otherwise, why he would ever wanted to open the schools much earlier by actually, lifting up the closures of the schools? Have you not actually thought about the safety of children and students in the state? Why would you try to use us as a guinea pig to push us to normalcy at the cost of our health? He is really a president, representator. He's really the representator, the head of the German school conference, representing the organization of federal students, right? I never thought about it. It's really easy. It doesn't matter. In local regions to fight for what? I'm not lesser than them. After a lockdown, the schools, open up again gradually, step by step. And there exist differences between different federal states and local regions with the decision to open up their schools, going back to normalcy. And many different detail-oriented questions are not yet clarified with sufficient details. There are many unanswered questions concerning important points. Devil lies in detail for sure. I don't really need to think about it. You can actually ask Frederick. Was I actually thinking about those German sentences? Was I actually being slow? I'm extremely fast, right? Consequence against the corona. Maybe Illinois with the theme consequence against corona. Consequence over corona. So we can actually, release our society by lifting up bans on our mobility. From Thursday, April 16th, 2020, and 10:30 in the evening on ZF. And 10:30. That's really easy. Coronavirus continues to be spread throughout. And actual news, latest news, it's really, really easy. I'm not lesser than those people, whoever you might mention. I really don't mind. You know what? I actually really want to warn those fuckers who actually cannot actually tell the difference. I never actually studied those, words in Korean. That does not mean I have to repetitively repeat many things that I have already actually seen before. You should actually rule out the fact that I never repeated many things. I just got like the piscatorial. I've only actually thought I've already actually covered this only once, but immediately naturally had this understood and digested. You should never actually discount this kind of cases. I don't really need to repeat them, but I've never even heard about the brown rice that should be called in Korean a hummi. Ever since that experience, I've never actually separated from that memory. That's simply not knowing previously does not mean that I had to learn it over and over again or rehash it over and over again, because there is no serious indication, especially concerning the things of my, preferential proclivity. I have never had serious experiences, limited capacity of my brain to be so ephemeral, which it could actually, have a very limited expirational date. Just like my French, I've never even actually studied French. Just starting from 2017. I actually almost put that aside and I've been actually keeping this at bay as of now. I've never actually actively studied any of them. Anyone can testify it. You want me to actually try French? It's really easy. Alright, let's try it actually. Le monde. More than 165,000 deaths in the world around the world, and a debut, the beginning of the deconfinement. That means, desegregation. And the latest information live. Unlike German and French and English, it should never be pluralized, no matter what. Under any circumstance, by no means, that would be pluralized. Don't try to actually deceive me. Auf Deutsch, das heißt, ja, die jüngste Informationen, das würde möglich, oder? Aber auf Englisch, es gibt keinen Fehler. Nein. Certain European countries, especially the most heavily touched, just like Italy and Spain, truly register more and more cases of corona infections. But the thing is, the corona infections and the death cases are likely to be on the decrease, fortunately. Even though they still receive more and more cases concerning corona infections and the deaths, but they are actually on the way of being decreased. In addition, in Europe and throughout the world, there are somewhat preliminary measures and measures of loosening up the lockdowns and the closures, which are actually going into effect as of now. Throughout the world, there are more, reactions and moves toward normalcy by loosening up the restrictions on mobility as well as the closures that are actually being reported throughout the world across the globe. There are more cases that would actually, indicate a positive signs for normalcy. We could, soon expect to have a beautiful everyday life as we used to know. Probably there are at least a glimmer and shimmer of hopes, right? Thank you. Approximately 10 million of French right now unemployed, partially unemployed. That means that they could actually obtain a minimum amount by actually moonlighting as a bartender, but they cannot actually, be on the payroll as a full-blown full-time worker after approximately 5 weeks of a confinement. Unfortunately, after around 5 weeks of a lasting confinement, there are no enough jobs that might actually offer full-time employment. Almost 10 million French that are actually partially unemployed. That means they're actually partially employed. On the other side, on the flip side of this coin, they're partially employed. They could only actually do the job for a minimum amount they could ever do. That means the rest of hours they would actually go back to their house in self-isolation because there are no jobs that might actually offer full employment as they used to work for, because there are no works to do. It's really true. I'm extremely sensitive with these details in French, and I'm extremely fast to actually compete with any of competitors you might endorse. Do not actually try to give the blind trust to them. There French you could actually go somewhat shameful downgrade after many different experiences. Who knows, right? The first trials concerning the human beings to find a vaccine against the corona-19 have begun. That's what has been said. You understand what I mean? Chez l'homme, this is not really the house of a human being. The first trials to find coronavirus concerning the human species in the department of the humans, like you and me, not really apes or primitives, but in the department of human physiology, have taken its first step. That's really nice. Have taken its baby step. All right. What if I missaid? The first trials in the department of the human physiology concerning the human bodies in search of the coronavirus vaccine have taken steps. This is really has begun, has commenced. You know what? I just really don't appreciate this kind of fucking argument that I would be slower in terms of, reading anything written in French than, your contenders. If you ever actually wanted to endorse them, go ahead. But the thing is, the truth would actually probably belie your, blind trust in that statistics. Because, I'm actually every day experiencing enormous growth. I will actually, pour all my money into this business to experience enormous success that could, truly laugh at you. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Ho ho ho, tee hee ha ha, ho ho he he. I know it. Visualize, these countries, which you surely experience, a certain flatten out the curve in terms of epidemic, and those, probably not yet be actually, experienced or succeeded yet. There have, probably these, curves might have indicated they're not actually there yet. Again, they're not really that successful, probably. Qui n'est pas encore. Qui ne sont pas encore. I should have actually watched the full sentence. Je suis très désolée. Not yet, yeah. You know what? You can actually have this video, visualized infographic, which truly, presents an enormously visible graphics that actually, reflect somewhat flatten out curves, right, of the epidemic. And certain countries, they have never not yet been as successful to reach the point they wanted. Not yet. Ils pas encore parvenus. Yeah, it's really, it's not really the feeling of the adventure and the virtual museums and Monday's, songs and our advice to avoid any confinement tonight's evening. If you ever actually wanted to have a night out by enjoying this evening, by going out, you don't really want to be confined to your house anymore in this beautiful evening. You just really wanted to have a night out. In English, we say the night out. Let's try to have a night out. Let's try to actually hit the cinema. Let's try to have it and go out at night. If you want to have, one night out, even despite all the confinement, you need to follow. There are some suggestions that might actually, lure you into, a security by actually, kick off this boredom, right? Adventurous films and the virtual museums and the songs for this Monday. You can never actually, sleep off this beautiful Monday evening by having yourself completely imprisoned. Soiree is really, it's like night out. Even though soir means evening, it's more like, having a beautiful date night or going out and enjoying the movie or, having a dining out or anything. You can actually do an activity outside. It's a really soiree. I don't fucking know how to say it in Korean, but it's really like going out to have fun in the evening and night by, dining out at the fancy restaurant or, hitting the cinema or even actually, asking someone out to have a date. This kind of activities we normally call it ce soirée. This evening you can have a beautiful date, a night out. Well, you must be very stupid.